Good morning. It's wonderful to be together again, and we are now at the verses that talk about fruition, what the Bodhisattva is experiencing. And so we're dealing with two concepts this morning. Whoever can see this no longer needs anything to attain. Bodhisattvas who practice the insight that brings us to the other shore see no more obstacles in their mind, and because there are no more obstacles in their mind, they can overcome all fear, destroy all wrong perceptions, and realize perfect nirvana. So these verses are said to help us dissolve the last subtle attachment, which is the attachment to wisdom, to help us understand that samsara and nirvana, the relative and the absolute, are equally empty. And again, we're talking about emptiness as boundlessness, boundarylessness, no separate inherently existing self, interbeing, interdependent, interpenetrating, impermanent, and interconnected. So the first verse, so crucial, nothing to attain. So if I shed ignorance, I am not getting something new. I am not attaining something. I am shedding something. So when we think of our meditation sessions, and there's this quality of excitement that maybe I'll experience something new, I'll then be seeing differently, I will be a different person, that I will achieve, let's say, enlightenment. We're not quite understanding that all we're doing is shedding ignorance. And when we shed our ignorance, there are some language that helps, like, what is the face before you were born? So there's ignorance, and then before you were born. Or in the Tibetan tradition, we often say naked awareness. So clothed, obscurations gone, naked awareness. So it is a clarity and understanding that is unobscured. So obscured and unobscured due to the shedding of ignorance. So you can think of what it's like when you have all your winter clothes on, the weight of all of that, and then you come in the house and you shed the 5-pound coat, the scarf, the gloves, and you become lighter and lighter and lighter. And there is also verses that talk about coming home. There's a familiarity of coming home, not, oh, I've got something new. So let's just sit with that for a second, that subtle grasping we bring to meditation, that I'm going to experience something, as opposed to I'm coming to my true home. Let's just breathe a couple minutes with that. Think of how relaxed we can be in meditation if there isn't that subtle grasping towards getting something. Rather, that exhalation into relaxing, coming home. So we're talking about a kind of clarity, a kind of realization beyond conceptual thoughts. But even thoughts, are thoughts something you can grasp, wrap your hand around and hold? An attainment is something you get. A realization, when the clouds part, the clouds of conceptual thoughts part, is the original, natural, naked awareness state. Another way to think about this, another example, is to think about when you're seeing a movie. And when you're really absorbed into a movie, you get mad, you cry. You know, it's almost as though you can reach out and touch it. The characters are as real to you as your family. We are just totally invested. But when the causes and conditions change, when the light going through the film, arriving on the screen, when that system stops, it was never there. It was there, we experienced it, but it doesn't have an inherent reality. It has the relative reality when the causes and conditions are working together, but when they're gone, it evaporates. There was nothing there to hold on to. There was only the causes and conditions interacting. When the causes and conditions stop, we stop crying and we go, oh, it was only a movie. There's a more clear seeing of your whole absorption. So the third example I'm going to use is yet again nature, my favorite. Okay, so the top slide is just before dawn. And remember that line we were saying at the beginning of the opening prayers, may confusion dawn as wisdom. So pre-dawn, we really can't see anything clearly. The earth rotates a little bit and the light that was always there starts to illuminate. And the light dispels the darkness. Wisdom dispels confusion. Everything that the light illuminates also was already there. It didn't change, it just becomes more apparent. And as the darkness recedes, the clarity, the visibility becomes more and more apparent. The process of the wisdom, light, dispelling confusion, revealing what was there all along. The light itself was there all along. It only seemed to arise because the world turned. And yet, all of a sudden, there is a clarity. So nothing has been achieved or obtained in the sense of getting something new. The darkness has receded, the illumination of wisdom increasing until there is complete clarity. So let's sit with this for a minute. So the subtle attachment to a wisdom that is beyond oneself starts to be contradicted by this verse. The wisdom, or our Buddha nature, has always been there, and the shedding of the ignorance makes that wisdom more and more apparent. So when we're contemplating this, the question is there something concrete, graspable, inherently existing that is attained, newly gained? It's hard in our state, which we could say is mainly marked by confusion, to really totally take in that also complete wisdom is present. We just have too many obscurations in our mind to see it at this time. So the second part of this verse talks about, well, what is it like then for the bodhisattvas when obscurations are cleared and they've overcome all fear? That sounds so lovely, doesn't it? When we're talking about this, bodhisattvas are another stage, so they're not quite yet Buddhas. There is this subtle attachment to wisdom that they don't experience in sitting meditation, in samadhi, but they do experience in post-meditation. So when they're not on the cushion. And this is the last obstacle that they're shedding. So when they're sitting in meditation, they're very similar to a Buddha. But this leap into seeing samsara and nirvana as equally empty of inherent existence, boundless, interbeing, interdependent, interpenetrating, impermanent, and interconnected. To function in this way takes an incredible both letting go and courage. And I can't say that that's my experience yet. So let's look at it another way. Let's look at it from a perspective we can all understand. If we're having a nightmare, for instance, we are in one of the functioning states, and in a real nightmare, like a movie, we're absorbed. It seems absolutely real to us, and we're terrified. Minute by minute, the monster is chasing us. It feels absolutely the same as waking reality. So what we're presenting in Buddhist philosophy is waking reality is actually similar to the dream state, but we don't understand that yet. It's illusory in that it is boundaryless, no separate, inherently existing self, interbeing, interdependent, interpenetrating, impermanent, interconnected. No self, no other, illusory self, illusory other. So the bodhisattvas are functioning in the same way that we're functioning, but they have an understanding of the illusory nature. And maybe some of you have experienced what it's like to awake in a dream. If we're awake in a dream, we can turn around and face the monster, and then fear drops away. We know the monster to be dream. We're in the dream, but we know that we're dreaming. So the bodhisattvas are in the illusory waking reality, and they know that it's illusory. So I'm going to give you a real life example of this. And we're going back to the example of Sister Chan Kong and Thich Nhat Hanh. And I've told you this story before from the perspective of Sister Chan Kong. Sister Chan Kong is representing us. Stages of confusion, less confusion, but still confused than we were, let's say, 10 years ago. And Thich Nhat Hanh, who I respect as a bodhisattva. So we're in the situation of the migrating people coming from Vietnam in boats, just like the climate migrators right now. They weren't ocean-worthy vessels. There were robbers, pirates, there were unreliable vessels. It was a situation of thousands of people dying every day, great fear, just terrible fear, terrible suffering. And so Sister Chan Kong and Thich Nhat Hanh were in Paris, and they got hold of a boat and got hold of all the medicines, the food, everything that was needed. But there was this bureaucrat that wouldn't let the boat leave the harbor. And Sister Chan Kong comes home after just failing to get the permit papers, and she's raging about, maybe making a better story, the frustrating bureaucrat and, all of these people who could be their relatives are dying, and even one day's delay means much more suffering, many more people dying. And Thich Nhat Hanh looks at her and says, "Dear sister, you need to spend a day in retreat. You need to go back to your settled mind, your loving heart, and from that perspective, go back to the bureaucrat's office." So at first she thinks he's ignoring the urgency of the situation, and what could he possibly be thinking to say, spend a day in meditation? How could you possibly in the face of all these harsh conditions, come to that state again of pacified mind and kind attitude towards everyone. But she does, and she goes back to the bureaucrat's office, and he gives her the permits. So if you think of this, here's the person who's struggling with relative reality, harsh conditions, caught up in afflictive emotions, totally reactive to the state. And here's Thich Nhat Hanh in the same situation, maintaining a calm, settled mind, and still doing everything he can do to help the suffering people. Because there are afflictive emotions, new karmas being created, new mental habit patterns are being created or strengthened. Because there is a settled mind, no fear, simply doing everything possible with a state of mind that is kind and calm, seeing the myriad causes and conditions coming together, can also see what is the skillful means that shifts and adjusts these causes and conditions. So this is when the texts talk about that capacity not to be caught and reactive in what you're experiencing, but dancing with the illusory reality, understanding that an illusory being is taking illusory steps and benefiting illusory beings. The boat went out, people were rescued, but they're two different perspectives. Struggle, dancing. So again, let's take a minute to just look at those two different views. When we're caught up in urgency and harshness, the sort of contracted heart mind engages and reacts and struggles. If we could see a little more clearly, and we will, we're progressing towards that all these causes and conditions are coming together, all the factors are illusory, impermanent, interdependent, interpenetrating, that struggle and reactiveness softens into wisdom dancing with impermanence, holding a mind of clarity and bliss. Let's sit with this for a few minutes. We could think of the Bodhisattva watching through a kaleidoscope. The causes and conditions either settle or they don't. So there's no struggle. There's impermanence continuing, the kaleidoscope of beings. Inseparable, momentarily coalescing, but experienced in an illusory way. And I think the expression of this in my life has been watching His Holiness Chetsang Rinpoche. I've known him for almost 30 years now. And, at all of these gatherings, these big gatherings, he generally uses the occasion to present a vision. And he doesn't make it happen. He doesn't struggle with it. He doesn't force it. He allows the causes and conditions to coalesce. If they coalesce, that part of the vision arises. If it doesn't coalesce, it's, the causes and conditions haven't come together yet. And there is no fear present. There's more, I will use every moment of every day to put these causes and conditions together to benefit sentient beings so they can wake up. The mysterious part of his biography, which I asked his sister about, and she said, yes, it was true. At the point when he was, as a very young man, walking out of Tibet, there came to be a gorge that seemed impassable. So I don't know what he thought or felt, but imagining what a fearless mind is like, just observed the situation, and sometime later, these people come up the same path carrying a log. The log goes across the gorge, and he walks across. The causes and conditions changed. There wasn't a reason for fear. There wasn't a reason for struggle. The illusory appearances seem this way now, and being impermanent, they shift. So let's think about how much reactiveness overpowers our minds. Fear and struggle arising. And the equipoise of meditation. It's still a lived moment, but how we're holding our minds in that lived moment is different. the potential is always there. And it's certainly illuminating to see how much our reactiveness and our fears control us. But each moment of seeing that allows us to shed their strength little by little by little. And as we are more present without a controlling narrative, the more there is a natural joyfulness that accompanies that presentness. And with the clarity and joyfulness, we can see what needs to be done, what's possible for us to do, still using all our moments to benefit sentient beings. With our meditative clarity becoming more integrated to the moment by moment lived experiences and actions. Not a rare moment on the cushion, but our natural condition as we move through each day. Suffering, struggle, dancing. It's a very joyful teaching. Okay, let's go ahead and say the dedication prayers, and then we'll close the YouTube and have a discussion.
Dorji Chang Tilopa Naropa Marpa Milarepa Dharma Lord Kempopa Padmadurpa and Lord Trikumpa, please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessings of all the Kagyulamas. By this virtue may I achieve omniscience, and may all who travel on the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the oceans of samsara by defeating all enemies, confusion, cause of all suffering. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. I pray that the Lama may have good health. I pray that the Lama may have long life. I pray that your Dharma activities spread far and wide. I pray that I may not be separated from you. As Manjushri the warrior realized the ultimate state, and as did Samantabhadra, I will follow in your path and fully dedicate all my merit for all sentient beings. By the blessings of the Buddha who attained the three kayas, by the blessings of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessing of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I share bear fruit. By the virtues collected in the three times by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Trikumpa Ratnasri, who is omniscient, Lord of Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. For this realm encircled by snow-covered mountains, you are the source of every benefit and bliss without exemption. Tenzin Gyatso, you who are one with Avalokiteshvara, may you remain steadfast until samsara's end. Embodiment of the three precious jewels, Padmapani, who holds the teachings of the victorious one, seeing the all-goodness meaning with the wisdom eye, may you who are the spontaneously established activities live long for hundreds of kalpas. Noble Manjushri, the Lord of Speech, who manifests to hold the teachings of the Triple Gem, who raises the lamp of the sage's teachings, may you who are the light of the Dharma live long for hundreds of kalpas. The one known in the Holy Land as Arya Deva emanated into the Gark land of the eastern Tibet as Chodingpa, the heart son of Jigten Sumgun. May the light of glorious Garshan remain steadfast for hundreds of eons. Vajra Dakini Nunnery is located in the unceded land of Wabanaki people in a state that participated in transatlantic slave trade. We recognize our own contributions to the division and strife amongst people and harm to the planet through our words, actions, or indifference. Bodhicitta is ever near at hand, inspiring us to openly, fully, with compassion, listening to cries of suffering and seeing all who are struggling. We turn towards reconciliation with ourselves and with others, especially those who obstruct us, knowing that humanity is one entire fabric. All our threads are needed to make life whole, healthy, and contented on Mother Earth. We are grateful for the gift of Sangha and for the bonds of Dharma exploration that unite us. May we generate compassion and peace as we go forth today, moving mindfully, harming none.